I'm using my front camera on my phone instead because I know it has better quality. And I can't see myself, which is very fucking bizarre. And I don't even know if the thing's recording right now. I'm pretty sure it is. But anyway, so I'm going to definitely see the difference in quality of this video. And you let me know in the comments below how this sounds and how this looks. Especially how this looks. So, tonight we're going to be talking about Frailty, which I haven't seen in a very long time and honestly remember very, very little of it, except for the scene where Bill Paxton makes his kid dig what I remember to be a pool. I know they didn't actually put in a pool, but it ended up being, you know, this kill basement. But anyway, so spoilers as always. And I will say this. This was a film that has been praised and praised and praised. And on IMDb, it has a 7.2. And I was like, fuck, man, this thing is really beloved. And I just am not familiar enough with this film. You know, and I was sent a copy of this recently, and I was like, you know what? Okay, this is perfect timing. Let's do this. It's been forever. I'd love to introduce a new, wonderful film into my, you know, mind catalog there. And this was, you know, while I was watching this, I was kind of like unsure of how I was feeling. Like, I liked it, but I wasn't loving it. I was like, oh yeah, this is good. This is good. You know, this is good. You know, and that's just kind of how I kept feeling. And then the ending came. The last like 5-10 minutes came. And my like for the film like went like this, and then like this, and then like this, and then like this. So the film as it ended. I like sat there for like a couple minutes after and really thought about things and was like, okay, now that they did that ending, I love it. I love it. Now as a whole, I love the film. But it kind of dupes you in a couple different ways, and in ways that I wasn't thinking about properly in the moment. And then as it kind of all came to me of what all just took place, the film's saving grace for me, the reason it went from this is a good movie to this is a movie I love, is because everything turns out to actually be real. That Bill Paxton's character is not crazy. That the son in this, who we are following around and are, you know, sympathizing with, because this is how we would feel in this situation. You know, he's like the hero of the story, but then he kind of turns out to be the villain of the story, because he's like most of us who would never believe this shit in a million years. And it actually turns him into a killer. And what Bill Paxton and Matthew McConaughey, who we find out is not the kid in the, you know, the story, the main kid, he's the younger brother, which I'd like to point out is always unfair. Like, because they have different actors, we fall for that shit. But of course, if we saw a little Matthew McConaughey, we would know that was little Matthew McConaughey, and we'd be like, no, that's not him. That's obviously the other kid. That's kid Matthew McConaughey. But so they kind of dupe you in an unfair way because it's not the same actor younger. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, when that ending hit, I was really, really impressed. And kind of like blown away in a way, because I just did not expect them to go in that direction. I thought this was going to be very obvious exactly how it is on the surface. This is more of like, you know, a psychological thriller of this kid who grew up with this crazy parent, like, who was awesome one day. Then the next day he's like, look, we got to start killing demons. And this kid's like, obviously this is bullshit. You know, obviously this is no good. And it's only because of, you know, Matthew McConaughey's character, who, Fenton. It's only because of Fenton that anyone who's not demonic, who's not evil, who doesn't deserve it, dies. Even the cop that he brings to the house that he ends up getting killed is because he doesn't have faith. And his godlessness is what ends up getting people killed. And Bill Paxton and the little kid, their true faith in God is what ends up being the right path here. So this is such a different take on this kind of movie. A movie like this, 99.9% of the time, would always go for the, you know, straightforward, the dad was a psychopath, the kid was right ending. And it wouldn't even be like a question. It would just be straightforward. This would just be shown to be like, look what I dealt with. Look what I'm dealing with. And you think the twist is going to be something like, you know, he's actually the killer. Whatever, right? And come to find out that throughout the film, you know, this has all just been kind of an elaborate ruse to get Powers Booth's character out there so he can kill him, because Powers Booth's character is a terrible person and he has been chosen by God for cleansing or whatever. So, oh man, it's just so great. That right there is what makes this film great to me. And then going back and thinking about the film as a whole, and now maybe even going back and rewatching it, I didn't, but I could, and seeing it from that perspective. Like, when we see what Bill Paxton's character sees here, we think, oh man, we're like seeing into the mind of a crazy person. It kind of reminds me of the story of Joseph Smith from the Mormon religion. You know, sorry to all you Mormons out there who are going to hate me for that, but the story and just one day I was doing this, and then, you know, God spoke to me and he told me this and that, and then, you know, I got these 3 special items and the seer stone, and I can translate the book of this, blah fucking blah, you know, total nonsense. But in this, and who knows, maybe the Mormons are right, I don't fucking know, what do I know? But in this version of things, the Mormons, or, you know, this version of them, are correct. They are fucking correct. And I love that about the movie. No film does this. Okay, anyways, let's get into the film. I had to talk about that up front because I was just kind of blown away by the fact they went in that direction. I just never see that. I just never see it. Anyway, so this is a reaccounting film. This is like a size, you know, a verbal Kent from Usual Suspects. We start in an interrogation room type of setting, and then we go over the events through that character's recollection. And then at the end, we get the twist. That's how all these movies play out. And we find out that the brother has stolen the body of his brother that he killed, and the ambulance. And then we find out he has no charges pressed on him. But then at the end of the movie, we find out that he's the fucking sheriff of the town, and that's why he's not getting charges pressed on him. So that makes perfect sense. And that he became a lawman, that he is out there to do good. They're the heroes in this story, even though they're painted to be the villains throughout. I love this. I love this ending. I can't get enough of that in my mind. But yeah, everything's hunky-dory. It's single dad. He's got 2 kids. They love each other. Everything's great. And then the dad gets this vision from God, and it fucks their whole family up. You would think that God would at least come and show the kid this, so that, you know, the dad wouldn't have to wouldn't have to punish him so severely, and then also the brother wouldn't have to then later come and kill him for becoming the God's hand murderer that he became. So, yeah, it's fucked up, but it is what it is. And so they get the 3 magical weapons: the gloves, the axe, and the lead pipe. Sounds like something from the game Clue. And it's funny here because I wrote, like, Fenton knows this is bullshit and hopes it's a dream. And it's like, but it's not bullshit. I would be Fenton 100% in the situation. 100%. Fenton is me in this film. When he gets locked down in the basement and then he comes in and he opens the door on him and he's like, you know, I bet you... I don't know, that's not where he says, I bet you didn't pray once. That was when he was digging. Down in there, he just opens it up and he's like, there is no God. You know, I hate God, whatever. That would be me 100%. You push me hard like that, especially after I watched you murder somebody. Fuck that, man. So, anyway. And he also, like, the younger brother who ends up being Matthew McConaughey, he tries to fake his visions at first, which actually doesn't really line up with what he says later, which is like, I always believed. I guess he did believe, but he never really saw what he said he saw when he was trying to get, like, his friends killed, which is a really scummy fucking thing to do, to try to get, like, a bully in your class murdered, and you're saying that the kid's actually a demon. Like, I don't know. That seems kind of fucked to me, but, you know, he's supposed to be holy. And, you know, Fenton just can't bring himself to tell on his father to the cops. This is, like, I completely buy and completely understand. And Paxton tells him that if you tell someone, someone's going to die. And that's exactly what happens. He gets someone killed by bringing him in on this because they can't get caught. And, you know, there's no argument to that this is real to me. This is 100% across the board, straightforward. He really does have magical, you know, abilities that have been granted by God, and he has a list, and he's killing people off on that list. Like, at the end of the movie, when they go to try to watch the footage of him, it's all invisible. He can't be seen, just like Paxton tells him in the car. You know, he's not going to let us be seen. It's not going to let us be, you know, caught. We'll be invisible as long as we do that. And that ends up being true, which is just... it's crazy asinine shit, but imagine that. That's why this movie's so interesting to me, because I meet a lot of genuinely mentally unstable people on, like, a weekly basis living where I live. They say the most outlandish, ridiculous shit you've ever heard in your fucking life. But imagine they were right. Imagine one of them was right. Imagine one of them with all, like, they come in and they say the most insane nonsense you've ever heard in your life. And then come to find out it's actually true. I don't even know what I do. I don't know what I do. It's just crazy to even think about. And, oh man, after the first death, like a month passes and they don't, you know, the dad's not saying anything, and he's just like, I must have dreamt it. Or, you know, maybe it went away. Maybe it's over. Maybe he's gotten it out of his system. And then he comes home and then he's got another one of them. Oh, brutal, man. Brutal. I feel so bad for this kid. And, you know, it's almost like I can't fault either of them in their way. Like, this guy legitimately saw God. Although, you'd have to question if you were, you know, schizophrenic or losing your mind or something. But I guess it's so vivid, and he has such strong faith. I mean, to begin with, he's a very loyal Christian, and so he sees God. And of course, this can be dangerous with someone who is mentally ill and does see something like this. But in this case, you know, he does see something, and he does pass this down to his son. And And then he uses his kid to trick this guy, which is so evil. But then we find out that this guy's a fucking pedophile, and he's like picking up like little kids, like, and doing terrible things to them. So, of course, I don't really give a shit. But regardless, I can't stand when people do that in movies where they like prey upon people's good nature. I don't know. That just, I've mentioned it on the channel way too many times, but it irks me every time. That being said, this guy's terrible, so I don't really care how they got him. And then Fenton is required to dig a hole that's like 10 feet deep and 15 feet across. Bullshit. Do you have any idea how long it would take for you to do that? That little kid especially. And he's like, my hands bled, but I kept digging. Dude, no fucking way. It would take months. It would take so long for that kid to fucking do it. Weeks and weeks and weeks at bare minimum. So the fact that he digs it is fast. He says 5 days, I think. 5 days. And he's like, I dug all day and all night. No fucking way. I've dug before. I've gotten a shovel and I've went out in the back, just, you know, exercise and such. And you dig and you are destroyed so fast. Your hands are destroyed and you've gotten nowhere. Your hole is like not deep at all. This kid builds this, you know, digs this entire hole. Try it. Go grab a shovel, find a place you can dig, and start digging and tell me how far you get in an hour. You'll be shocked at how little you've done. Anyway, that's why I always laugh when I watch movies and they have like a perfect rectangle that is the exact length of the coffin, and they always hit it at the exact like depth that they're at currently. So like they'll hit it and then they'll just kind of scrape off a little bit of dirt and the whole coffin will kind of become exposed all at once. So they just like take 1 inch layers at a time, perfect layers at a time. And then once they get there, they always hit the coffin and then they drag a little bit and the coffin is completely like just covered with like a half an inch. It's stupid. It drives me crazy. I need to make one of these videos. I've actually been thinking about it lately. A video of all the nonsensical things they do in movies all the time that drives me fucking crazy. That is one of them, and I need to write that down. If I had a pen right now, I'd put it on a page, because fuck me. Anyway, so they build a dungeon from that kid digging it, and this is where they go and they murder demons. We find out that's true. He really is. And throws him in the hole for a week after he makes him commit murder, which he technically does make him commit murder. Of course, we don't think that's how it is, but it is, which is wild. I know, I can't get over this ending. I'm on about it too much, but I can't help myself. And then the dude that he makes his kid help him with to get, you're like, okay, are these guys actually pieces of shit, or is he like, no? Has he been following these guys around? Does he like know personal pieces of shit in his life? And he's like, I'll just write down these 5 names, and I know they're terrible and they deserve it. And this guy, they come to the door, and it's the wife or girlfriend or whoever yells something out, and he just yells back at her like, you know, I'm at the door, bitch, or some insane thing. You're like, what are you talking about? Who talks like that? Horrible person. So when he's going to get killed, I couldn't give a fuck. But Fenton turns the axe on his father, kills him, and then the little guy comes and kills the dude, and he's like screaming out, no! Adam, that's right. Adam. So Adam ends up killing the dude, which we don't care. We want him dead, and I'm glad he's dead. And then we get the big reveal that Fenton is not Fenton. It's actually Adam. Fenton was the one going around killing people, and then Adam, Matthew McConaughey's character, Fenton finally ended up on his list, and it was time to go take him out. And yeah, I already talked about that. No, I already talked about all that. yeah, I kind of talked about this a little bit, but Bill Paxton was he was able to touch these guys and women and see them for their wicked ways. And Adam claims to have been able to see this as well. I don't know why he lies about it later, but supposedly we get to see them like that. We get to see this on display a little bit, but I don't know. I guess it's used right, because any earlier and it might have ruined the twist. And and pressing charges. I mean, bro was actually killing people. Blah blah blah. Already talked about all this. I think the last thing I want to talk about here is that I think Fenton is good, and then I think where Fenton kind of becomes the killer is when he's in the cellar and he's down there and he fucking just cracks. He just completely cracks. You leave someone in that area, like you can see his head's like floating around in there and he's tripping out and he's doing this and that. He's fucking a killer at that point. Like, this guy bred a killer because of this guy's lack of faith, or this kid's lack of faith in his mission that has been given to him from God. He misses out on that, and the mental trauma of it all, and the the solitary confinement breaks his mind, and he's never right since. And he calls his brother and he's telling him all this shit, and it's really fucking sad. It's really sad, and I completely see now why it's so revered. So, in the performances from Bill Paxton, as always, rest in peace on Bill, man. Fucking never get over certain deaths, and Bill Paxton's one of them. Just never sits right to me that he's dead. Like, that just doesn't seem right. Like, I always have to like re-Google it or reconfirm, like, is he really dead? He can't fucking be dead. He is really dead. And that's just such a shame, because I love him. My favorite thing he's done, though, I have to say, is all the shit he's done. He's done a lot of great stuff. But the character I can just never get out of my mind when I think of him is this fucking used car salesman he plays in True Lies. I don't know what it is about that character, but it's like everything about him all in one. Just the comedic presence, timing, lewdness of his comments, and just his laugh, and he was the fucking best. And he directed this movie too, which I don't think people talk about enough. So really cool directorial effort here. I don't know how many films he did. I never watched some of his later stuff, like Big Love and all that, but I did really like him in Nightcrawler and what. So yeah, Bill's a legend, and it's sad as fuck to see him dead, but he did a great job with this film, both in directing and acting. And then McConaughey is great as always. And so yeah, I mean, thank you for sending this to me. This is a film that I definitely needed to give a rewatch to, and I'm so glad that I did, because now I can sing its praises. But honestly, because of that ending, I'll tell you right now, as I said, like, if this movie ended exactly how I was expecting it to, with it just being like the dad was crazy, maybe the twist was Fenton was actually his brother and he was the killer, really, whatever, and it was the psychological trauma of being lied to about this shit. I would have thought the movie was fine. I really would have. I would have just been like, yeah, that was all right. That was fine. But it's that ending. It's that, like, no, it's all real, that made the whole film for me a completely different film for me. So fucking A. Endings are so drastically important. It's crazy. You can make an amazing film that has a shit ending, and the film is just not good. It's just, endings are everything. So, man, the saving grace, the end, for sure, for me. What do you guys think? Anyways, what did you think of this video? Hopefully it's still recording, and I'm not going to go over there and look at it and be pissed off. And how's the audio? I turned it on airplane mode to try to cut in on any interference. So please let me know about the audio and the video, and hopefully we can continue to keep getting much better looking and sounding videos from here on. So it's going to be a little bit more work because I have to edit with this, just the beginning and the end, but it still fucking takes more time than I'd like, and whatever. It doesn't matter. It's not your guys' problem. Just let me know. And if you haven't seen this one, check it out. Let me know. Adios.